Now, Rishi Sunak has got a very busy time at the moment. He paid a visit to Selby yesterday in support of the Conservatives candidate Claire Holmes in the local by-election there.
Yeah, the latest polling data, though, shows, well, guess what? Labour could potentially have a 12-point lead as hopes grow of a shock win.
Well, joining us now is Portia Berry-Kilby, political commentator from Young Voice UK. Very good morning to you. Why on earth would anyone want to be Prime Minister at the moment? Can you even answer that?
Well, no, I don't think I would want to be Prime Minister at the moment. And at least for Rishi Sunak, it's not looking terribly bright. He has 3 by-elections coming up and none look as great as they should be. So there is a lot on his plate because this will definitely be a good indicator of what is to come next year. And if things are unsuccessful, then he'll have lots of very angry and disgruntled backbenchers and even frontbenchers.
Yeah, he will. I mean, clearly, all parties, well, it doesn't always apply with the Lib Dems and Labour if some of them have got a stronger hand in it, but certainly the government, the Conservatives and a key opposition party are throwing everything at these by-elections, aren't they?
They very much are, because at this point in the game, it is indicative of what is going to come in the future. And Rishi has laid out his five-point plan. Is that making cut through? Are voters happy with that? And we've seen since Boris Johnson, there's been 2 prime ministers. Is the fallout since Boris Johnson out of voters' minds? Has Rishi brought this kind of stable approach to politics, kind of the professionals getting on with the job? Or in people's minds, are the Conservatives still a failing party? Can they not forgive what the Conservatives did during lockdown and the breaking of the rules themselves? Is there any hope? And at the end of the day, it's been 13 years of Conservative rule. And has that translated into a positive feeling for voters? Do they feel better off than they were back in the 2010s? And it's looking unlikely. So unless that changes in the next 12 months, then things are just going to get even worse for the Prime Minister.
Yeah, I mean, it must be very difficult at the moment to be a Conservative candidate. They're going to have to do an awful lot of knocking on doors and, you know, the doorstep sort of thing, and kissing lots of babies and taking lots of selfies and all the rest of it. We've just seen some pictures there of Rishi doing exactly that. And actually, he's probably better at it than I was thinking. He looks as though he's actually enjoying campaigning.
He does look as though he's enjoying campaigning. And I think from what people say, Rishi Sunak is quite a personable chap. So that's always positive. But as you note, all of the candidates will be out campaigning. Anyone who's on the candidates list is meant to do 5 days of campaigning in advance of the by-elections, and MPs are expected to do about 3 days campaigning in advance of the by-elections. So it really is everyone giving it their all in the hope that that makes a difference. You just hope that the calibre of those candidates and the MPs actually go down well with people on the doorstep, and they've not made mistakes as to who they've selected, because that's also not going to help. And if it is needed to be a fresh face for the Conservative Party, and what do the Conservatives stand for, then hopefully they've made the right selections and people to send.
Yeah, but that's the issue, isn't it? Because it seems people are fed up and wanting a protest, you know, and it's going to be anyone but the Conservatives in some respects. I mean, they're talking about anything under 25,000 majority is actually now totally vulnerable.
Yeah, so the outlook is very much bleak. And what we've seen is that Labour, there was a story this morning, are basically going to match the Conservatives' commitments to spending and taxation. So they're not having to innovate with any new ideas. They could basically carbon copy the Conservatives' manifesto and say, but hey, we're not the Conservatives. And that's probably enough to win them the election, because it simply has to be a change. Anyone but the Tories is the general consensus, and it's not really even a matter of policy for Labour. They just don't have to do anything too wrong in order to succeed.
Are you and the other young voices that you speak to sort of resigned to the Conservatives losing the next election?
I think there is a fair amount of resignation about the way things are going to go. But at the same time, there is, potentially over a year in which things could turn around. And I think if the Conservatives do go back to a few more actually conservative principles, then maybe there is hope. But at the moment, there's not much legislation going through Parliament. They've kind of cleared the tables, A, because summer's coming up, B, because there are all of these by-elections. So there's not really much to show for the Conservative government. They can't say, yes, we did this X, Y, and Z, passed all of this legislation. Look, we've delivered on the Conservative manifesto. They're kind of dragging their feet and looking at these key battlegrounds, which is all well and good. But that doesn't translate into telling voters on the doorsteps, this is what we've actually achieved with this huge majority and all of this time in government.
Yeah, no, fair point. Portia, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed.